Well, hello, my friends. It's the first weekend in September. Fall is coming. Mother Nature is plentiful in all her many forms. I never saw a fungus like this before in my whole life. It's growing around a little uh, pine stump. But isn't that beautiful? Such a pattern. You look straight down at it. Mother Nature is wondrous. Anyhow, let's go take a couple shots and have a bit of fun. Back in a minute. Okay, guys, let's take a couple of shots here. Okay. You know, I was being asked by, let's see if we get this camera here. Oh yeah, Old Trapper. Old Trapper was asking me how to hold a bow. Hold it in your hand. Too much is being made about bow handles. They're developing all these pistol grips and all these ergonomic grips. The truth is that your hand is made for grabbing a branch. I've said this before. A straight handle is the best one. And when you get these guys that are always standing there going, you see the lifeline? You put the bow right in there. Come on. Anyhow, all you really have to do is take the bow in your hand and open your hand a little bit and pull the bow, and it will sit right where it's supposed to sit. Take the bow, open your hand just a little bit, pull the bow, and it will sit exactly where it's supposed to sit. Right? Hold the bow, open the hand just slightly, pull the bow, it will sit exactly where it's supposed to sit. That's it. How simple can it be? Don't overcomplicate things. And, if you hold the bow that way, you'll get your hits. Okay, Old Trapper? Back in a minute. Okay, my friends. Let's talk about the mad draw. The mad draw. Okay. When I was making that little crack about the mad draw, something that I noticed is sometimes if I've missed a couple times, I'll kind of get angry and I'll just pull it back and line it up and let her go and hit the target. So I call that the mad draw. And what really is going on is, I've told you many times, don't be careful in the draw. If you're pulling back and you're struggling just to get to that spot, right? Really, if you just get back there, it's better. Because if you've got a heavy bow and you're struggling and trying to be very careful to get it to exactly that spot, by the time you get there, usually you will short draw. It's called target panic. You let go before you get back because you're fighting with everything. Okay? So it's like a false trigger, sometimes a person is thinking that they've got to, say, touch the corner of their mouth, and they're struggling. As soon as they touch it, they let go, but they weren't really aiming yet. It's just that their concentration's all on touching, you see? So if you just draw back, because It's only when I'm back here that I aim. Remember, I don't aim till I get back here. I relax my fingers until the arrow points at the target. So all this struggling and being the, the great ballerina and all these perfect movements, it's not necessary. What's necessary is the aim. Get back there, relax the fingers till you're aiming, push forward. Don't be careful with the drop. You're wasting time. And when you do that, you'll get your hits. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. A couple of shots with the bow right side up. Okay, guys, I'm going to explain something to you. How basically it's like a shot sequence. I do not stand sideways to the target. I've been watching hundreds of archers and they've all been taught to do this. I take a little step towards the target so that I'm almost off balance. That way I lean, okay? Howard Hill leans. And that way you reach out and you pull against the lean. Gives you a good draw. But what I want to show you is this. Now, you are inside that camera, so you're right there. I would say that's the imaginary line. Now, when I put my bow up, I put the tip on the line. You see that I'm looking at it with both eyes? I put the tip there, right on the line. Immediately I start to pull, I'll pull it off the line. I make sure it's back on that line. Now, when I'm on the line, I start pulling, and it will be on an angle. Back here, the pressure in the bow will bring my hand in, and by the time I get back here, that arrow will be perfectly lined up. And because I started with the tip on, the tip is on, and now the back is on. Okay? So that's basically my shot sequence, is push the arrow forward, keeping it on that line, and now draw until you're into your anchor. When you're in your anchor, relax your fingers, because the arrow will probably, with me usually pointing over there, when I relax my fingers, it will straighten out. And if I can push and not flick my fingers too much, it's very difficult not to open your fingers. But push and it'll go. So that's basically it, eh? Little step into it, put it right on, draw back, get plugged in, get it right in your anchor, relax the fingers until it's straight, and then just let go. Anyhow, I can't explain it better than that. I'm spending a lot of time talking tonight instead of shooting. But, if you do that, you'll get your hits. Takes time. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. A couple of shots. Wiggling around. wasn't wiggling around. Okay, guys, you know, something that you need to be conscious of is the gap. Now, in Jerry Hill's book, he shows the picture of how when Howard would put his arrow up, that the arrow would go over the target and then down on the right. That's because it's indirect aiming. If I'm shooting an English longbow, I also have it over there. But with a bow like this, it's direct aiming. You can aim right at it. So instead of seeing that, basically I'm seeing this. So it's directly aiming indirectly. So it's the same kind of principle, but with a bow like this, again, I can put it right on the line. And the thing about drawing is, when you put it down on that spot, that's the gap. And you want to keep it on that gap, because that's where it has to be to arc into the target. So try to draw on your gap, but I want you to know that, let's see if you can see it with the arrow. If you're looking at a target, as the arrow comes back towards you, the tip actually starts to look like it's going down. Point at something and draw your arrow back, and you'll see it's going down. So you have to be conscious of that and make sure it stays up. Okay? Again, the arrow will look like it's going down. Keep it up. That's the best I can tell you. And here we'll see. I put one right in the middle, and then I popped one a little on the left, still in the kill. So I took the next shot and put it right back in the center. But that's the way it goes, you know. Back in a minute. Okay, guys, let's take a couple shots here. Okay. You know, something that I keep saying is how important it is not to open those fingers. I have a constant battle because all the time I've shot, it's always release, let go, just let go, release. No, the less you can release, the better. Just let the bow overpower it. But something that I want to, just this a bit, something that I want to make perfectly clear is I've come to realize that the aim is done from the anchor. However, with Horace Ford, when the pressure brought his hand in, he paused about 4 inches in front of his face, they say. And he insisted that's where he was aiming. What I think Horace was doing now is he was aiming, he was lining up there, and that's why he said most people miss because they pull themselves off. So he would get really close, and he could see the arrow, the full length is very important, full length of the arrow, and he would just come straight back to his chin anchor. Now, Howard Hill did a very similar pattern, and that is when his hand came in perhaps 8 to 6 inches in front of his face, a heavier bow, it will draw in quicker. I understand that. And then he would line up the arrow from front to back and draw back to his anchor. And I can see that he always tried to touch that spot. Even when he would shoot and his hand would end up here, that's where it ended up. But when he let go, it was right there. Anyhow, both of them, Howard, over, straight back, Horace, over, straight back, Gare, over. I like to start where you finish. It's more efficient. So I just bring it in here, relax the fingers, and I get it straight. It's the same idea. You get it? We're on the line. Howard, on the line, straight back. Horace, on the line, straight back. Gary, on the line, relax till it's straight. Same idea. Anyhow, I think that's the difference in the different ways that we draw and bring it on the line. And when you do that, you'll get some hits. Okay, guys, back in a minute. You know, guys, there's a lot of parts to form. How you stand. Do you bend your knee? Don't you bend your knee? 3 under, split finger, string walking. But I think the right hand is the most important part of all. It has to be strong. It's what aims. When it relaxes, that's what makes the arrow go straight. The right hand aims. It's all about your right hand. Can you control it? You know? The right hand, it's got to be strong enough to pull the string. It's got to be able to relax enough that it can control that arrow, you know? See how it controls the arrow? Makes the arrow go straight under your eye. It has to be able to release fairly smoothly without kicking that arrow out. It's really important. About the most important part. And when you can control your right hand, you'll get some hits. Back in a minute. Okay, guys, let's take a couple shots here. Guys, something that I notice is targets like this, you know, they trick you because the leg goes on a bit of an angle. You know, you can't really tell where the dot is. Oh, this is another thing. I'm not really shooting these things like competition. All these animals, all mammals, have a heart that is just above and behind the leg. You know, even myself, if I had my arm straight out, my heart would be back here, just up above and behind the leg. Or if I had a fourth leg, and maybe I do. But anyhow, all I do is really just aim at what I call the kill zone. You can see that gray area, and just try to get behind the leg and above it. So that's a simple way I do it. I'm not really aiming at the little circle or anything. But, you know, you've got to hold it on. You've got to get to your anchor. This is where I find the most efficient aim is done. And if I do that, I have a chance. And anyhow, you'll get some hits, you know? That right hand is real important. Real important. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. A little variety. We moved back to 30 yards. That's a bit high. There, that was in there. I just had to pick a spot lower on the leg. Okay, yeah. Okay, you know, there's a fine example of what Uncle Howard was talking about when he was saying anybody can miss the first shot. On that target there, at this distance, the gap is just right on his knee. At 20 yards, it's on his knee. At 30 yards, it's on his knee. That's because of gap compromise. Remember, the arrow goes up, it sort of goes level for a long ways, and then drops off. So, as soon as I saw that I was a bit high on my first shot, I lowered and I got the next ones right in there. You'll also notice that they're all more or less one above the other. In other words, the arrows are going straight. It's just that I'm having a difficult time, and always have had a difficult time with elevation. But anyhow, let's just take a peek. You know. And so, first one high, the other's right in there. That's because of using gap and knowing that on this animal, it was on his knee. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. Let's see if we can see the white streak. We'll just leave that like that. You know, how many times have I said that this right hand is so important? Now, if you're using a thumb ring, forget that. And split finger, I guess it works, but there's more control in 3 fingers than in one big flap. So, using our ancestors' Mediterranean style is a natural kind of style, and it's not necessarily that accurate. You know, string walkers, they will be more accurate. But, you know, come on. And, you know, we can always use sights and clickers and peep sights and kissers and all these kinds of things. But if I was going to sum it all up, I would just say that I put my tip on, I start pulling back. The very first thing I do, whether I am not careful, I just want to get it back here so that I'm not shaking or short drawing or panicking. Just get it back there, because I have found that when I relax my fingers, when it's back here, it's going to line up and shoot straight. So even though bringing it in front so that you can see the whole arrow, like Horace did or Howard did, all fine. But in all honesty, just bring it in there, relax the fingers, you will see the target, and you can only tell where the arrow is pointing if you're looking at the center of the target. If you're looking at the point, you can't tell where it's really pointing. Not really. You have to be looking at the center to line up to the center. That's what tells you if you're left or right. And if your form is good, you'll be okay. Now, again, there's a couple of shots. I just left it like that because, at 30 yards, that's consistent. Okay, boys. Have fun. I'll talk to you later.